You're listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, episode number 196. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is Gina, creator of the Fitnessista blog and brand. I'm so excited that you're here today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm so excited for today's episode. If you're enjoying the podcast, if you wouldn't mind leaving that 5-star rating or review wherever you're listening, it really helps me with the visibility of the show, helps me to continue to book these amazing guests that we hear each week, and I would appreciate your help so much. So if you wouldn't mind just hitting pause, leaving that 5-star review wherever you're listening, and then head to fitnessista.com/podcast review. So it's fitnessista.com/podcast review, and I'll send you a copy of my bar blast workout for free, just a little gift from me to you. Before we head into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about We Feed Raw. So we have switched to using We Feed Raw as the meat in our dog Maisie's dog food, and she goes absolutely insane for it. It's a mix of human grade meat as well as organs. It's so pure, so healthy. We care so much about what we feed ourselves and our family members, but our furry friends are a part of our family too. So if you want to feed your pet the best food possible, head to We Feed Raw. She goes crazy for it, and we have a surplus of it over here. They've been so amazing to send us packages of it. So I've been sharing it with my mom's dog, who's a husky, and then also our neighbor's dog, who is an Aussie puppy, and they all go absolutely wild for it. So definitely check it out. And right now you can use the code FITNESSISTA40, so FITNESSISTA, the number 40, and you'll get 40% off your starter kit, and that is just for podcast listeners. So head to We Feed Raw. You will make your dog's day with the best food. Use FitnessIsta40 and you'll get 40% off. All right, friends, so let's head into today's episode. This one was just a really special episode. It's one of the ones that I'm going to think about for a long time. It really stuck with me. It was just really powerful and impactful, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to have Rachel Reimer on the show. So Rachel Reimer is an intuitive symptom support coach. So this is also sometimes called a medical intuitive, who helps people uncover and release the hidden stressors that create illness. She teaches them to see symptoms not as enemies, but as messengers asking us to slow down and listen to the body. From a young age, Rachel noticed her gift for sensing hidden connections between emotions and illness. For herself and for others, she helps those who have tried everything and still don't have answers, often supporting clients while they work with traditional and holistic healthcare providers to put together the puzzle of unexplained symptoms or to get to the root of chronic conditions. She is so amazing. She helps to recognize the emotions and beliefs shaping health and help to release what the body's been holding onto for deeper healing. I had such a great conversation with her. I actually had a call with her afterwards, and she helped me unpack some things that might have been contributing to the autoimmune issues that I've been dealing with and the dry eye symptoms. And she knew the date range in which it had happened. It was absolutely incredible and gave me an action plan for how to work through these things. I can't recommend her enough. So if you are dealing with anything and you feel just mystified as to what's going on behind how you feel, the body really does hold on to emotions, beliefs, traumas that we've experienced. There is a book that's called The Body Keeps the Score, and it's so, so true. So she can help you unpack all of those things. So head to her website. It's My Ray of Hope, and Ray is RAE.com. Book a session with her, but just listen to this amazing wisdom that she shares in today's episode. So I'm so glad she's here today. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Welcome to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, bite-sized tips for healthy living that you can implement right now. Join us weekly for interviews and real-life advice for creating the happiest and healthiest version of yourself. Here's your host, fitness expert, author, and mom of two, Gina Harney.
Hey, Rachel. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Gina.
Yes, I'm so thrilled to chat with you. Would you mind just sharing some info about yourself and your background and what it is that you do?
Sure. So I am a symptom support coach. My job is to fill the gap that's currently in medicine of when someone has a recurring issue, they've gone to the doctor says, hey, this is stress induced, or I don't know what's going on. People tend to gravitate towards me. My job is to go in and try to figure out what that specific emotional stressor is, and then help someone try to gently and kindly figure out how to work through that stressor so that it's no longer bothering them. I have found that the body is a ride or die best friend, and it lets you know when something is going on that you're emotionally not okay with. And you have a symptom, your body's going, hey, over here, please, this thing is really bothering me. So my job is to go in and help someone figure out what that is and resolve it.
Okay, that's incredible. And do you have training based off of this? I know that it's something you've done for a long time. How did you know that you had this ability and this gift?
It's been a long time in the making. So in high school, I started to develop my own chronic health issues and chronic health challenges. And in my pursuit of trying to get better more on that integrative and functional health realm, I ended up meeting one of my mentors, and she really helped walk me through and helped me identify what was going on within myself that I could work on to start resolving some of my own symptoms, and in turn, what that started to look like in other people as well. So I ended up going on to work in her office and just essentially learning her everyday routine on trying to figure out what exactly is going on with someone. So I was so grateful for her support over the years. And I've really just taken the torch from her and have just kept running with it of trying to narrow down this disease is normally related to this stressor, and then just helping people continue to move forward with their lives.
Okay, that's really incredible. And I love that you said that symptoms are just like a sign from the body. Like it is, it's its cry for help. So there's some type of imbalance there. What does it look like when you're helping clients work through something that they've experienced for a long time and they haven't been able to get any answers from the traditional medical model? Like what does that typically look like?
So there's a few different routes. It's ideal if I have a diagnosis, not required by any means necessary.
Yeah.
If I don't have a diagnosis, I like to have a firm background on what exactly has been happening. What symptoms are you having? When are they happening? Who are they happening around? Is there any other factors involved with it? And just try to get an overall viewpoint of holistically what this person is experiencing and why they're even coming to someone like me. I'm generally not the first person that someone goes to. I'm normally one of the last of like, I've tried everything.
Yeah.
I'll give this lady a shot. I have nothing to lose. So once I go through their case history, I really just like to sit with my journal in meditative prayer and with the logical, intellectual information that I know on this disease is normally related to this emotion, and just see what information shows up. I have found that most of these emotional stressors that are related to the health issues are things that people are aware of, but they thought that they were already over them. Like, I've already forgiven that person. That wasn't that big of a deal. And we circle back to that and go, there's still something here that hasn't been resolved yet. And I think it's really important, especially if your body's screaming about it. So one way that people can identify that on their own is just the general question of, does this event or this thought bother me more than a 2 out of 10? And if it's bothering you at more than a 2 out of 10 and you're not consciously resolving it, it's getting stuffed somewhere. Almost imagine like your body's a closet. You're sticking that somewhere. I don't know where you're sticking it at. My job is to try to figure that out. But just to be on the more preventative side, anytime something is bothering you, of really just being conscious of how much is this bothering me. There's a difference between something bothering you on a intellectual level and on an emotional level. When you see your husband's dirty underwear or socks on the floor, intellectually you can go, that's not that big of a deal. But when you check in with yourself emotionally and go, when I woke up this morning and I was really overwhelmed, and I've asked him 100 million times to just throw the dirty underwear and the socks in the hamper, that bothers me at a 8 out of 10 or whatever the number is. Even though intellectually it's like there are people starving and dying and all of these other big terrible things, but it bothers you at an 8 out of 10. Don't dismiss it, don't judge it, don't shut it down. Recognize that and acknowledge that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think so many of us can relate to what you just said, finding laundry on the floor or dishes in the sink. But even those deeper issues, which I think we're starting to hear more about being tied to illness. So things like anger, fear, resentment, trauma. So you help them uncover those things. And they're like, okay, this thing that happened to me when I was a child is still really impacting me. how do you get over that? You know what I mean? Like, do you work with a therapist as well? Are there things that you can help them do where it doesn't affect them as much as it did previously?
It really depends on how large the emotional stressor is. If it's something like your husband's repeatedly not listening to you about the dirty underwear
Yes.
and socks, I can
Yes.
handle that. I can take that on. If
Yes.
it's more of in really complex trauma, like I've worked with a woman before where someone has come through her bedroom window and raped her. Like, that's on the verge where I'm like, I can help you identify that's still there, and this is where it's at in the body. I'm not equipped to help you work through that. I think that would be a disservice to you. I am
Yeah.
happy to give you context clues on where I think you're at as far as the resolution of that process goes. I'm not going to take that on specifically. Here's an example of an exercise that someone could do for something that's a little bit more minor or that they feel like they're capable of working through on their own. So I'll just use that example because it's a really common example among women. I'm sure men have their own flavor of that too. But whatever that pain point is, that 8 out of 10 pain point, almost envision that it's a knot. Just a knot in a big ball of yarn. And what most people do, or at least in my experience when I talk to people and they see knots, they're like, I'll just go on with my daily life. It's not that big of a deal. I can still use the string or the yarn or whatever it is. Instead, I want you to actually focus on that knot. And whatever the feeling is that's coming up around seeing the dirty underwear and the socks on the floor, let's say it's anger, grief, resentment, whatever, focus on that specific event, not all the times that he's done it, not the accumulation of all of that stuff, just that specific event this morning when he did it. It bothers you at an 8 out of 10. You're feeling resentful if he doesn't care about me. That's what you focus on as you're looking at that knot and that ball of yarn. And you don't need to try to intellectually solve it or go, it's not that bad or whatever it is. Just hold that feeling. And what you'll find is if you hold it long enough, that knot will naturally come undone. And when that knot naturally comes undone, it'll feel like this gold, tingly feeling. The best way that I've been able to describe that feeling of how you know you've resolved something is almost envision someone has taken a tennis ball and they've put it in your mouth. So you have this like weird, uncomfortable ball of gunk here, and then you take it out of your mouth and you go, oh, that's a relief. There's this nice kind of cooling sensation or opening sensation. You'll feel that in different parts of your body too. So let's say if you're having low back pain and you notice that you had low back pain when you were thinking about the report that you had to give at work or something like that. That's your knot. So you think about the report this morning at work. It's bothering you maybe like at a 5 out of 10 and you're going, wow, I hope I don't screw this up and lose my job. And you're just paying attention to that, focused on that knot. You're not trying to talk yourself out of it. You're just really pinpointed on that. That knot will naturally come undone. So my job is to help people identify normally what that specific stressor is. And once they know what that is, then they can do that knot exercise. So I just try to be the bridge for that and helping people figure that out.
Okay, that's amazing. And I think that's such a huge piece of the puzzle too, like actually figuring out what the stressor is, because a lot of people just go through their lives, they're on autopilot and not really realizing that things are affecting them so deeply. I would love to hear some common themes that you see in your business. Are there things that you see a lot, you deal with a lot, and you're like, I feel like this is happening to women so often, or things that you wish that they did in their lives that could help them so that it didn't get to that breaking point?
Low back pain is pretty common among men and women. Low back pain in general is just financial fears. Not always, but something that you feel like would take away your safety or security. For most people, that's finances. For some people, that might be that they lost a best friend, and that best friend was their confidant. Of I don't feel rooted in anything anymore.
Yeah.
The thing that actually keeps me afloat or keeps me sitting upright is unstable. It's not well. Just a really, like, almost stereotypical, it's almost like haha funny at this point, is any woman that's going through marital issues or divorce almost always has something going on in the thyroid. Sometimes it's showing up in lab work, sometimes it's not, but Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism are very common for women that are just beside themselves. They're so angry and so upset they feel like they've been mistreated or wronged or anything in that nature. Women's reproductive issues, especially if you have really bad heavy menstrual cramps, bloating, just the roller coaster of emotions around the time of the month. Normally there's some kind of male issue going on of an attachment to dad or an attachment to a romantic partner that just hasn't been resolved. That's just more of a general umbrella, and just trying to narrow down what exactly that is can be helpful. Fibroids are normally just built up hurt. Almost just imagine the more hurt you have, it just kind of builds up and builds up and builds up into this ball. The bigger the fibroid, likely the bigger the hurt.
Interesting. That is so fascinating. What about autoimmune type issues?
That's my bread and butter.
Okay.
I love me some good autoimmune cases. Autoimmunity is just attacking oneself. So it's the self-critic. The way that I describe it is, imagine you have you're holding onto a baseball bat. And as you're holding onto a baseball bat, those thoughts start going of, I should have done this or I should have done that. As the thoughts are going, you're literally hitting yourself with the baseball bat. So when I work with someone with autoimmune issues, it's normally the first exercise that I give them is, you can have those thoughts. I'm not going to take them away from you or invalidate them, but I want you to hit the baseball bat against the pavement, not at yourself.
Okay, that's so good. And when you said self-critic too, like that was such a light bulb moment, because it's so true. So many women who have autoimmune issues are really hard on themselves, and they're very like type A go-getters, like constantly achieving and doing things and not really spending time on self-care, stress management, like just always like people pleasers and achievers, type A.
Yeah,
sure.
and I've found that even furthers the cycle more, is that when that type A personality or the women that are go-getters can't figure out what's wrong or how to stabilize themselves physically, that cycle gets even worse. They take that baseball bat and they hit themselves even more. And most people don't even realize that they're doing it with autoimmune issues. They're aware of the self-critical voice where they're like, I'm pretty hard on myself, but there's not an understanding or a light bulb moment that they're doing that action to themselves, and just slowing their thought process down enough to realize that and recognize that, I think, is a huge step. I really recommend just conscious thought journaling, thoughts to paper, so that someone with an autoimmune illness can actually start to see how much that self-critic is impacting them on a daily basis. It's not a Saturday night date night where you pick up the bat and hit yourself with it. It's like 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. It's not a special event. It's a recurring thing. It's almost like an addictive pattern of, when I can't figure something out and I feel deficient, or I feel like a failure, or I feel like I'm not enough, I need to hit myself and correct myself so that I can achieve something and someone will love me. And it's helping someone walk through every single stage of that to the point where that pattern doesn't feel comfortable at all. Right now it feels comfortable for whatever reason. That's maybe the environment that they grew up in, maybe that's the career path that they're involved in, of just kind of that your thoughts and feelings don't matter, you just need to get over things, and that they're already trying to punish themselves so that other people aren't trying to punish them. They're very sensitive, caring, warm people, and they just don't want to have the living daylights beaten out of them by someone else. And I don't blame them for that emotionally. So they're trying to formulate some kind of coping mechanism to work through that. Now, are there physical causes of autoimmune illness? Yeah, if you're in touch with huge amounts of radiation or something like that, that's a whole different ballgame. We're talking about just your run-of-the-mill autoimmune patterns, chronic illness patterns that don't really have a rhyme or reason, and they've normally just lingered for years and years and years without a clear physical cause.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. I'm taking notes over here. I think that this is so interesting. How would you explain? So I think that so many people listening have heard of like medical medium. How is what you do different from like what he does?
My understanding of medical medium is that he tends to focus more on examining the body from an intuitive standpoint and recommending things physically. And I may be wrong on that, and I'm open to correction on that. My perception and my viewpoint is emotion focused, that I don't want to. I think there are an abundance of physical resources that can be used to help someone, and I always divert those people to my clients to go to those people. I think I could be helpful to a certain degree of going, hey, you know what, you're kind of this, like if someone has vaginismus, which is a condition where sex is really painful. Hey, have you heard of a pelvic floor physical therapist?
Oh, yes.
Some people may have only gone to their OBGYN.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a pelvic floor physical therapist.
Yeah.
It's not my jam. I will refer you out to someone that can do a much better job of that. I think that working on the emotional end can be way more powerful than the physical end, although I would highly encourage someone to do all three rabbit holes of healing, which is physical, emotional, and spiritual. I think that physical is the easiest form of healing to obtain, as far as like going to a doctor, getting pills, getting shots, whatever that is, and that you get the quickest results. But the thing is that I don't think it's always as powerful as what we need. You could go to the sauna, you can get your red light done, you can have a paleo, AIP, keto diet, whatever it is, and that can keep you stable for a while until something emotionally really stresses you out, and then you lose a bunch of progress. I don't know if you've ever personally had that happen where you're like, I'm going, and then something just kind of slams you out of nowhere, and then all of that progress physically gets diminished. So I really like to work on the emotional end, because even though it's harder to identify what that stressor is, I think it has a lot more long-term benefits with it, of teaching someone those emotional regulation tools and skills and helping them be aware of their own patterns that are going on. Because if you're aware, like UTIs, especially with women, is a very chronic issue. If you're aware of the emotional stressor that keeps happening that's related to your UTIs, where you can get to the point where you don't have to have an arm and a leg amount of supplements to try to take or not take every single month, I would much rather someone do that. Of any time that UTIs in general are normally, I'm pissed off, like literally pissed off. And it's okay, what keeps pissing you off? Is it your boss at work? Is it your spouse? Is it your sibling? Is it your children? Which child? When? Be clear about it. And once you go, okay, I think most people, especially if they have chronic issues, kind of have that warning sign of like, she's coming. I don't know when she's coming, but I can feel she's coming, and I don't know how to stop that train.
Yeah.
Once you can identify she's coming, it's okay. What pissed me off? And in that window of trying to identify it and work through it so the body can feel like it was heard and understood and relaxed. And I have found that over time, the more that people practice that, the less likely they are to continue to have that recurrence, or that the flare-ups are far few and in between later down the road.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think that this is so important. And I think that this is so cool that more of this information is getting out there, because the physical aspect only will take you so far. You mentioned the pelvic floor issues. You can go to pelvic floor PT, but if you're still clenched and tight for whatever reason all day, it's only going to help you so much.
Right. And with the vaginismus and painful sex, from my perspective, the normal emotional connection with that is safety and trust.
Interesting.
And especially if it's with the same partner that you're experiencing that tightness with, it's normally, I don't trust this person to some degree. Intellectually, you might go, this partner is really good with their finances. They check in with how I feel, but there's a part of you that doesn't feel safe with them. And I think that's worth exploring. That normally isn't explored during pelvic floor PT though. So I think the conjunction and combination of the two is what's helpful and important.
Yes, 100%. So can you share some of your testimonials from clients that you've worked with, just some transformations that you've seen through this work?
I worked with one individual where I think it was her son ran into her with like a motorbike or an ATV or something like that. And she ended up really hurting her wrist and She was at the point where she was having so much pain that she was considering surgery, and she had a few providers that were willing to do that surgery and said, you know what, like physically, you check the boxes for that making sense. And she came to me and she said, Rachel, I don't want surgery. And I said, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want that surgery either. I will see what I can do. I took her case history to get to know what exactly happened, how it's impacting her life, what she wants to be able to do someday. And if I remember correctly, her specific wrist pain was, I just can't let go of things. Just envisioning, I'm trying to think of an object that you could hold on to. One of those like cute little kindergartners that has the giant backpack and you try to reach towards their backpack and you hold on to it.
Oh,
that was her wrist pain. Like she's like, whatever this kindergartner or this backpack is, I can't let it go. I'm fearful if I let it go, I'm not going to be okay. And we worked through that pattern within her life. And she started to recognize, when I have this wrist pain, what am I not letting go of? And now she's to the point, I don't think, she occasionally checks in with me. I don't think we've talked about her wrist for over a year at this point. It maybe took 2 or 3 visits before we really whittled her pain down to a 1 or 2 out of 10. And then right now she's doing a lot of yoga, which involves a lot of wrist strength, and she's not having any recurring pain. So that's just a nice, easier, clean-cut example. And then the complete opposite spectrum of that is working with your stage 3, stage 4 cancer cases. I approach that very different than more of the clean-cut cases. I normally start off with my conversation with, I cannot promise to save you. I am not God. I am not Jesus. Please do not use me for that reason, rhyme, or purpose. What I can do is I can work with your symptoms on the emotional end, and we can see what happens as far as just getting you stable so that your medication can go in and actually work. I have found that cancer patients, especially in stage 3 and stage 4, are normally terrified of dying and scared to death of what's going to happen to them. So we normally work on that fear, and then we normally work on any anger, resentment, bitterness. And that's normally the root of a lot of the joint pain that those stage 3 and stage 4 cancer cases have. It makes sense physically why they're having that pain. If they have metastases in different areas of their body, like if you pull up imaging, you're like, okay, if you have a metastase by your right elbow, that makes sense why you have right elbow pain. I've been able to work with people in that physical state, though, where maybe they come to me for that pain at a 6 out of 10, and by the end of our 30-minute conversation, it's a 1 out of 10 or a 0 out of 10. So I don't think that even physical things that show up on imaging have to be related to our pain levels. I think pain is very subjective. When I have someone that is in a very critical place in their health, my goal is to always stabilize them to give the medication a chance to work. And then if they get healthy enough, then we start going in and doing some of that deeper emotional work. The other thing that I always like to tell people, that if they don't end up making it, my goal and my mission is to help you clean your ledger with your higher power, whatever that is for you, so that you can be at peace with dying, and that it's not a terrifying experience. It's almost the end of this work of, I'm leaving on good terms, breaking up on good terms, if you will, of I'm not angry, I'm not resentful that you gave me cancer. I understand to a certain extent emotionally and spiritually why I'm here. I understand that you're working towards my greatest good and my benefit. I leave my trust in you. That idea and that perspective. So, and then there's a whole hogwash of different cases in between that, like the autoimmune things that we talked about earlier. So I will meet someone where they're at. I will also let someone know transparently at the beginning of a session if I feel like it's just a purely physical case or if I feel like I can't help them. Sometimes the emotional wounds, like what I talked about with the guy breaking through the woman's window in that rape case, sometimes people just aren't ready to deal with that yet. I worked with a woman several years ago, and she came to me with stomach ulcers. She's like, I don't understand why I keep getting stomach ulcers. I just listened to her background on it. What I came up with more in that imaginative prayer type state after listening to her case history was, I keep getting that this has something to do with like a romantic relationship partner, and I don't remember exactly what I said to her. I think it was like, this romantic relationship partner is behind a door and you're almost not letting them in. And it doesn't feel healthy and it feels secretive, and I'm not really sure what that is. And then I'll normally ask for a collaboration of, does that make sense to you? Am I really far off? Do you have anything like that that comes up? And she let me know that I think it was about 4 months before she started developing those stomach ulcers, that she started having an affair. And I let her know, like, point blank, I think these stomach ulcers equal the guilt from your affair. I can't tell you what to do or not to do. What I can tell you, though, is that it's bothering you to the extent that it's showing up in your body, that there's a part of you that's really not okay with this. And she just let me know after I told her that she wasn't willing to talk about that or address that any further, but she was grateful that I let her know what it was. So it's really just case dependent, and I respect where people are at. Emotions are painful. I don't blame anyone for going, I don't want to deal with this. It's not fun. It's normal to go, this sucks. This hurts. I don't want to talk about it. Like, that makes sense on why it's stuck in your body. It was never dealt with. And it's just more of, when you have the confidence and the trust to be able to talk to someone about it, I will be here.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like, I think that what you're doing is so amazing, and just helping them dig into these issues, because the body keeps the score. Like, it is true. Like, it holds on to things until you're ready to process it and get rid of it and deal with it. So it's so cool that you're the intermediary that will help them do those things, because I think so many people aren't able to do it on your own, because, like, even just sitting in meditation is really hard for some people. Like, they start to feel things and we're like, no, I don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. So if someone's listening and they're like, I'm really interested in this, I would love to just hear some of your first steps that you would share with them, like kind of just a way that they can get more in tune with what their body's saying, stored stress, how they might be able to access some of those things on their own, or do they need to work with you right away, or is this something they can kind of like dig into a little bit first?
I never want someone to be dependent on me. You can absolutely do this work without me. I am just someone to help you with the application, maybe similar to how a personal trainer can help you get stronger or build healthy muscles. You do not need one to get in shape, but sometimes it can be healthy. So I would be more like your emotional personal trainer, if you will. Some people need that, some people don't.
Perfect.
As far as tangible, practical steps, I think it's really easy to just put your hand on the part of the body that's bothering you, wherever it is. Let's say if you're just having some weird neck pain, you don't know what it is, you don't know if it's bone, muscle, whatever it is, put your hand on it and then just write for 5 minutes. The other thing that you can do, and normally in that 5 minutes, you'll go, oh, that's what's bothering me. And then you can hash it out in whatever method works best for you. Alternatively, you can almost envision that part of you as its own little person. So let's say my throat pain is a person. What does that person look like? Almost like the characters from Inside Out, where you have like anger and sadness and joy. You have one that's called throat pain. Okay? Give throat pain the microphone rather than stuffing a Kleenex in her mouth and telling her to shut up. Actually let her talk. Let her express what's going on and listen to her in full without any objections. But that's not true, or you shouldn't feel that way. Just let her talk. Let her talk until she's done talking. Give her the microphone. Don't yank it away from her. That's rude. Don't do that. Then, after she's done talking, have a conversation with her. Is this what you meant when you said you were upset about X, Y, and Z? Why are you upset about X, Y, and Z? What do you need to not be upset by X, Y, and Z? Just treat it like a human being. Can you imagine if you go out to coffee with someone and they're just saying, you know what, I had a really hard day at work today and my boss was just mean, and they're like, yeah, I don't care. We don't treat other people that way, but we treat ourselves that way. That's not okay to do. And my job as that intermediary position or the application position is to point that out. Of like, that was a really crappy thing that you just said to yourself. Did you hear that? Because I heard that. I wouldn't want to be the recipient of that, and humanizing that and making that a normal thing. I think the area that gets tricky with people that have done a little bit of counseling work is they'll immediately go into, well, that doesn't make sense why I feel that way, or I shouldn't feel that way because of this and this and this. Let's say the belief is, I don't feel supported right now. Sometimes people with counseling history will go, well, should feel supported because I have a family and I have this and I have that, versus just going into that belief of I don't feel supported. Seeing that knot, feeling that knot, and feeling it in full. That ball of yarn has so many knots intertwined in our lives. Some of them have turned into physical issues, others haven't. That's also an easy meditation that you can do at any point in time. Envision the entirety of your life as a ball of yarn. How many knots are in there? Because if there's a lot of knots, you're probably not feeling too hot emotionally or too great physically. And that's just something to sit with. It's not that you even need to figure out all the knots, but just be aware of how big the problem actually is. And like a ball of yarn that has a bunch of knots in it, some knots are going to be very easy to untie. Other knots are going to be much bigger and much more challenging. But I don't think that you necessarily just have to cut out pieces of the yarn to make your life work. I think that really sitting with the knot long enough to let itself untangle is what's the most important part in that process.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that. I love the ball of yarn too. I'm totally going to use that from now on and just see if I can focus on the knot, try to decide how much it actually is bothering me. And then I loved the meditation about it and unraveling too. I'm excited to try it myself. So the title of the podcast is Healthy in Real Life. What's something that you do in your own routine to create a consistent, sustainable, healthy lifestyle for yourself?
I do a nightly check-in. I check in with my body and just kind of see if there's anything that's majorly off. And if nothing's majorly off, there's no fire alarms, then it's okay. Is there anything minorly off? Normally there is. Something's going on that I wasn't aware of, didn't process. I'll normally journal that out, or I'll bring that into prayer with my higher power and just try to sort out what exactly is going on with me and making sure that I go to bed with a clean slate. Because if I don't go to bed with a clean slate, if I don't take out the trash, there's more trash to take out the next day. And at times that can get really overwhelming if it's not a continuous, regular process to check in with how I'm doing and how I'm feeling.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like you probably sleep better doing that too. You're not worrying about as many things. Like you have time to unpack it before you go to bed each night.
Yeah. And I think that's the antidote to insomnia a lot of times too, is find the knot that's bothering you and sit with it. And it most likely won't take longer than 20 minutes, and see if you can go back to bed.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's such a great tip. So nightly check-in. I love it. I'm going to try that myself as well. So if someone is listening and they're interested in learning more, they're curious about working with you, where can they find you? How can they reach out?
They can go to my website. My website is myray, RAE of hope.com. And you can book a 30-minute session with me. You can also go through the different articles that I have on my website. Just a nerdy fun thing that I like to do is to list out a disease and create an image or a story on what that looks like, so that when you notice that you have that physical symptom or disease pop up in your life, you go, oh, that's what that is. I can resonate with that picture, and give you some tangible journal prompts to actually start to work through some of those emotional stressors in there.
Okay, perfect. Are you on Instagram as well?
I am not. I am just a website person at this point.
Okay, perfect. Yep. So I'll include links to her website so you guys can find Rachel and connect with her. Thank you so much for being here today. I feel like you shared so many amazing tips and just things to think about. So thank you for the work you're doing too. I think it's so powerful, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks. I hope you have a great day too. I'm glad someone's doing the work, and if it's got to be me, I'm happy to do that too.
Thanks for listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast. For more info, check out Gina's blog at fitnessista.com.